Welcome to Emerge and Empower Podcast TV, a platform where resilience meets transformation. Here, we amplify voices that have faced trials, trauma, and adversity, stories that inspire hope, healing, and empowerment. Every episode brings raw, unfiltered conversations with individuals who have risen from hardship, embracing faith, strength, and purpose. Join us as we break the silence, uplift one another, and emerge stronger together. New episodes air Wednesdays at 6 p.m. English and Saturdays at 6 p.m. with select Saturdays in Creole for our Haitian audience.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Emerge and Empower with your host, Dr. Lynn J. Now, as you know, we are running a series that's called the Shemergence Virtual Conference, where we have individuals coming on this platform and sharing their stories of the moment where they felt unworthy, undeserving of love. But on today, we continue with session 3. Session 3 are again women that are coming on the platform sharing their individual experiences through a few guided questions. So, what you need to do is go ahead and get in a front row seat right now. I don't know where you are, where you're packed, where you're going, but what you need to do is subscribe. Subscribe. It is time. Dr. Lynn J is here, and we are here every Tuesday until the last Tuesday in September. So we come on and just share it with your friends, share it with your audience, share it in your groups, wherever you want. Because listen, I don't know everyone that you know, but as we connect together, we can reach more individuals. And the purpose is for each of us to heal for real. Healing is a beautiful thing. Now, as we take off these layers, it's never easy, right? Even if you had an old scab, when you try to peel that off, it will bleed. But we do understand the healing process. So you might need someone to talk to. Not sure of you can talk to. There have been diverse individuals that have been on here from different backgrounds who can help you relate. Find someone that is relatable. Don't go through this alone. All right, there is help out there for you. And our desire is for you to emerge, to come away from such pains, to come away from the secret that has been so disabling to you, the secret that has been keeping you trapped, and everything that you have done, you seem to can't get away from it. It's time to talk about it. It's time to heal for real. If you're a part of a church group, if you're a part of an organization, there are things in your community centers that you can go to for healing. I want to encourage you to seek this healing. Seek the healing today. Start today. All right, start today. We'll be bringing all our guests on at this time, and we'll go through a short break.
Bestseller, soon to be New York Times bestseller. Hold up now, keep focusing, keep working, sis. All right, introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Linda Joseph, and I'm a pastor, mentor, life coach. And basically, this book's about my journey. And it's a journey to healing. It starts from my childhood to life and marriage and to helping other people heal. So my whole point of view is making you be the better person that God created you to be.
Amen.
All right, everyone, we are back. And look at this beautiful guest. These ladies are beautiful, and you can tell that their healing is radiant because you can see the confidence on the screen. Like, I can't wait. I can't wait to start talking. I can't wait to share. And also, this is a platform to voice. Welcome, ladies, to the Shemergence Virtual Conference. Welcome. I am so excited that each and every one of you are here on today. All right, so we have Kelly, we have Ashtyn, and we have Sue. Ladies, go ahead and let everyone know that you're connected to Shemergence, the virtual conference on Emerge and Empower. Go ahead and introduce yourselves one at a time.
I'll go first. My name is Kelly Morgan. I am owner of Bright Headed Publishing, and I'm connecting from Aurora, Colorado.
Yay, Kelly!
Hello, I'm Ashtyn Monea. I am a teacher, seer, and mentor for Grounded Mystics. This also includes very, very powerful, intuitive women.
Yes, yes, love it, love it, love it. Let's go, Ashtyn! Come on, y'all gotta get excited. I get excited for people just wanting to step out of bed, okay? That's a big thing. Go ahead, Sue.
I am Sue. I am connecting from Ohio. I am an ACC certified master life and mental health coach, passionate about breaking the stigma around mental health and work with the intersection of faith and mental health. That comes out through my organization, My Step Ahead, where you only have to be a step ahead to help the person behind you. And it comes out through the books that I write. Like I said, I'm an ACC master certified life coach, and I do a lot of speaking as well. So looking forward to the time today. Thanks for having me.
Yes, welcome back, Sue. Sue's not a stranger. If you want to go find out about it, go back. Go back and watch. This is not a one-on-one segment. This is more like a general platform. Some of these ladies will be coming back on to share their individual stories. But on today, we're just going to go through the various series of questions and we're just going to flow from there. I know our audience can't wait. Your feedback, you could just put in the comments. And we're excited that you are watching us today. And again, this is section 3. Yay, 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 yay. I am so excited for each and every one of these women as they will be sharing their own experience on today. Now, this session is titled Healing from What No One Saw. Healing from what no one saw. Many times we say we were invisible, right? We reached out. It was like, nobody see me. Nobody can hear me. All right. But these women have emerged from it. So we're going to start off with the very first question and just move right along. And whoever wants to answer can answer first. What are some of the silent struggles you carried that no one around you recognized?
I think I can answer first. Personally, for me and my journey, there were two kind of struggles. One was always body image. And so nobody really knows that you're going through your body image thing. That's kind of your thing. And even if you're in the process of working out, it can be fanatical, it can be unhealthy, right? But you're just because you're going for what people say you should go for. And in the process of the body image thing, I'm also shrinking who I am because where I live, there's not a lot of people who look like me, who sound like me. And I find myself just trying to find out where I fit in. Where do I fit in? And so that was a silent struggle because I think I was very good at masking it and hiding it and using humor to deflect what was really happening. And that was kind of my thing. So I was always joking and happy, but inside I'm really down on myself. And I think when I look back, I was probably really listening to the negative chatter in my own head and the chatter coming from outward as well.
I'm so glad you touched on that because many times we smile through, we grin, we playful about it, but indeed, it's just a mask, right? It's just a mask, and you don't want people to see you. So, you go to jokes, you go to, the life. That's why I say even people could be the life of the party,
Mm-hmm.
but inside, it's a whole different war that's going on. All right. And we'll move right along to the next.
I'll jump in.
Go ahead.
I came in quite intuitive, but this wasn't something that my nuclear family or really anyone around me was able to mirror back to me. So I was seeing things, I was knowing things. I'm a deep, deep, deep feeler. I'm a highly sensitive human. And that was not something that anyone around me not only could mentor me in, but even acknowledge was a part of my unique experience. And then I also arrived into a highly dysfunctional family. I have a father who's an alcoholic and kind of stereotypical narcissist, a mother who was also an empath, but not in her power.
Mhm.
and would dissociate and leave her body, go into catatonic states. Hospital would be hospitalized for dissociating. And then an adopted brother who was 9 months younger than me, who also came from a really traumatic start in life, which meant I very quickly became his mother unknowingly to myself at the
Right.
time. And so it's very much so this parentified child, because I was intuitive and I was wise, and I have the wounded healer kind of archetype throughout my life. So I was looked at and viewed at as the harmony point, or the strong point, the peacekeeper, or the one who's going to keep things together. But me being held wasn't something that was common. And when I would seek support, I found that oftentimes it created a heavier weight for me, because I wasn't being understood in who I was or what I was genuinely navigating through.
Yeah, you said a lot, and I think we need to actually probably allow you to break that down, because there was a lot of masking and so many different levels there, right? Because you were dealing with so much, so you had to also deal with your father, your mother, your brother. So you're different, all of these people, while you yourself being a young child, all right? So that's a lot. Adults can't really do that well, let alone for you to be a child, but that's a lot of masking, all right? So Sue, we'll go to you, and then we can always come back to
Sure.
Ashton if she wants to talk a little bit more there.
Yeah, I think for me, just to share a snippet of my story, I'm a childhood rape survivor. I was raped by a classmate when I was 7 years old after school one day, and it was a 15-year secret. I didn't tell anyone for 15 years to my senior year of college. And when I look back now, I see so many things and the way that hurt was coming out that I didn't know I was trying to say it, and others didn't know how to hear and didn't
Mm-hmm.
know what to look for, I should say. So some of the ways that came out, I've struggled with depression. I've struggled with anxiety. I've twice considered ending my life. I've dabbled in cutting. I'm in recovery from an eating disorder, all these things. But one of the cruxes of it all was my worth. Do I have value? I think that was one of my silent struggles that I'm able to put words to now. But do I matter? Am I worthy of someone spending time with me? And will they love me for who I am, not what I do? Because similar to Kelly and Ashtyn, I wore a lot of masks, and mine was, if I was seen, I had value, and if I was seen, then I mattered. So for me, my overactivity in high school and college, my wanting to be the one that you could depend on. All those things were some of those silent struggles that I didn't know then were part of me needing to be validated, because I was told from a very young age that I didn't matter. My perpetrator left the other side of the woods and said, "Don't tell anybody." And I listened to it. Now, this was early 70s, so rape was not on the radar. It wasn't something, I didn't know what happened. No one
Mm-hmm.
knew to ask anything. And then it just continued to perpetuate, because as you know, and your listeners and participants know, is that trauma literally rewires your brain. So from the
Yeah.
start, I didn't get a chance to be a normal kid. So anything I did was compensating for that desire to be seen, to matter, to know that I meant something to somebody. And as we talk, that'll be a common theme through some of the other things we talk about today. But one of the biggest silent struggles for me was, do I matter? Do I have worth? And will someone see me and love me and accept me for who I am, not what I do, even when I feel so totally broken and messed up, because that was one of the things I was masking too.
Each and every one of you, basically, when we go back to it, it's about that worth. Am I worthy? Am I deserving? You know,
Mhm.
in my case, I looked at the people who were supposed to love me were the ones that were hurting me. So, being the eldest, I took care of siblings. I was always doing, overly. You're the oldest. You have to do this. The youngest are going to follow you. You got to get good grades. You got to do this. I had to be the mom to my brothers and my sisters, being 7 years old and taking them to the doctor. okay, because my mom couldn't. So I had to become a grown up, taking care of younger kids. So childhood, I'm like, what was childhood? Kids were playing dollhouse. I had real life, right? I was really cooking and cleaning, and it was real. It wasn't toy. It wasn't something that I could do right now. Okay, it's break time, go away from that. So you question yourself, you know, am I deserving of love? Why are all of these things happening to me? Right? And that brings you to the place of low self esteem, also. All right. And you feel like whatever happened, all the bad things should happen to you, because I guess I deserve that. Right? I guess I deserve that. So these are the places where we talk about the worth, right? Are you worthy? Are you worthy for healing? Even to ask yourself, am I even worthy to be healing? Should I even spend the time? That's why a lot of people don't want to talk about these hurts, and they keep them, and it's been 20 years, 30 years, like you say, 70s. For you it was 70s, for me it was 80s. Right? In the 80s, I remember growing up, this was the new norm. There was young kids, babies having babies. That started in the 80s. Children that were 11 and 12 getting pregnant. You understand? This is what was happening. That's what I saw. That was what it was in the community. I remember there used to be a magazine, and you would see the young school girls, and they talk about being in a relationship with these older men. All right. It was something to achieve. When I look at that, I see that as a place of hurt. Something broke, right? Something broke within them. All right. So, Kelly, I don't know if you should go back to the next question, or you wanted to talk a little bit further about the silent struggle.
I think we can do a little bit of both. I think for me, the silent struggle was, in hindsight, a whole nother person, right? It was a whole persona that I put on a daily. And depending on who I was talking to, who I was dealing with, I was not only switching because, I didn't feel worthy because I was heavy, I carried a lot of weight. And when I was growing up, people didn't look like me. So I would never look like the people who I was going to be around. So I never felt worthy, right? Growing up in Salt Lake City, nobody looked like me. There were no brown people around me. So I didn't really have an identity. And the funny thing is I didn't even know what code switching was.
Wow.
Until I read an article. As an adult, I figured out, and I thought, all these years, I have literally been code switching at work where everybody is white and I have to be a certain way. I have to act a certain way, but they're still not going to fully accept me, right? And then when I go to people who look like me, I sound a certain way, and now they believe that I'm trying to be something that I'm not.
Oh my! Yeah.
So they're not accepting me either. And with all of that, I am completely overweight, obese, and just really trying to be accepted, and it is not working on any level for me. And the whole time I am still Jolly Kelly, and just like Sue, I want to be seen too, right? So I'm people pleasing.
Right.
I'm people pleasing everybody. I'm not saying no to everybody, and that even spilled over into my business, right? And so now I'm not even running a business the way that I should, because I'm out here chasing validation in my personal and in my professional life, and I don't even yet recognize it. So I'm not even recognizing it yet. I'm like on a hamster wheel. And that was a silent struggle for me for a very long time. It wasn't until I actually started listening to me. I had no mentor. There was nobody around to say, hey. It was crying in my closet, because I'm a private crier. I like to cry in silence, because I don't know. I don't know where I got the idea that crying is weakness. I don't know where I picked that up. Probably somewhere in my childhood. Somebody must have chastised me for crying. But I don't know when. But I feel like even today, I have a hard time. I feel like that's vulnerable. And if you can see my vulnerabilities, you won't like me anymore.
Right.
So I have to put on this Teflon mask and wear this every single day. And I only take it off when I'm alone. And when I do take it off, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I'm broken, and all I can do is cry. And at this point, cry and eat.
Wow. Wow. That says a lot there. That's a lot in there. Because not only, and I can say this because you're in an environment where no one looks like you. So you learn to adapt.
Very quickly.
Then you go into an environment where people do look like you, like, who does she think she is? You understand? And in the midst of that, you're broken. I'm trying on both sides here. Like, give me a break, right? That becomes overwhelming in itself. All right. And I understand the private crying because believe it or not, I would say somebody did. Somebody did say to you, stop crying because
Yep.
we only react from an action that had happened. Somebody said it. Stop crying. Stop doing this. Yada, yada. So now you feel like I'm going to cry. I'm going to still cry, but I'm going to do it on my own terms. Right.
Right.
And go into your closet because internally we cry, even though we don't actually share them physically as well, because that's the internal closet, right? You're smiling. It looks like you're smiling, but inside you're crying and you're dying. Like I was the smiley person. When people looked at me, I was always grinning, right? Because I don't want you to see me. I don't want you to see my pain. So I was always, they looked at me to the point it was silly. And I would say to myself internally, why you smiling? Why you looking? Why you grinning, silly? You know, stuff like that. You see? So let's go to Ashtyn.
What was coming through for me as I was listening is a sort of unique experience that I find that those who are highly intuitive, who see, right? They see, but they're not seen. They feel, but they're not fully felt. They can support and heal, and then they feel like I don't have support in my own healing.
Yeah.
And so what I was hearing is like, what happens when you show up fully expressed in your essence and people don't see you? So for me, it wasn't so much about masking. It was more so like being like revealing myself over and over again to not be received, to not be heard, to not be understood, to not be felt. And when you are someone like I soul level attune, I can attune to your soul. And when I attune to someone's soul, it's like nourishment for their spirit. Like I do this in client sessions and people are like, no one has ever felt me there. No one has ever seen me there. No one has
Right.
ever mirrored that about me. And you start to come alive. And so we're meant to have these kind of mirroring reflections that happen in our human interactions that bring us more to life. But where we as humans have blocks to things that like even feeling sensations, right? Like we're talking about, oh my gosh, am I going to still be loved if I show my vulnerability, if I
Yeah.
cry in front of you? And so there are moments where people can feel uncomfortable with that, and then they look away instead of
Yes.
leaning into us. And we think, oh no, something's wrong. Like maybe I need to not do that. And then we start kind of hiding and cloaking
Right.
ourselves up. So it's like there's a certain level of resilience when you are like, you know what? I'm going to open up wide. I'm going to go the full way. I'm going to be so self-expressed and true to my experience in this moment. And I'm going to ask for other people to look at it and witness it and not turn away from it. And then if someone or others do turn away from it, can you still anchor into the essence of your soul and know that you are deeply worthy regardless? This has been more of my experience of like being so deeply authentic and then still not being received. And I think that sometimes we're sold ideas about healing like, okay, if you just do the work, then this.
Right.
And it doesn't always turn into the thing that we're being sold, but it doesn't mean don't take that road, because
Right.
there are things that we discover along the way that we would not have been able to otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Indeed, indeed. So that pretty much bring us into the second question about how did the lack of outward signs affect the support you receive? Because you're showing the signs. In my case, I spoke to a neighbor and I told the neighbor what was going on in my home because she noticed. The stranger noticed. I'm in a new neighborhood, but she notices, right? So I go over to play with her kids and she's realizing what's going on. At first, I can't say because I haven't, I don't know her that well. So I have to build that trust, right? And it went on, I don't know how long, because when you're little, the time could seem, it could be a week, but it could seem like a month or a year. I don't know how long, but eventually I opened up and I said what was happening. So she later on went, not to my mom, but she went and took me in the downtown area because from the Bahamas in Nassau. At the time, we lived in Gambia Village, so she drove me from Gambia Village to East Bay Street area, right, to my aunt's place to tell her what I told her, right, and so in that case, my aunt said, okay, call the police, do all this stuff. And then when we go to the police station, because we had to go to the police station, and the police wrote a report and they said, I need to go to the hospital, like for them to check me to see if, I was molested, you know. But what they don't realize was I was raped and left for dead a year prior. So obviously you're going to see something. You understand? But I was too afraid to tell that because, like Sue, the perpetrator said, don't talk. But in my case, he threatened to burn the house down, okay, with us in it. We were renting from his mom, his family. We lived on the same yard. So I'm afraid because I don't want my family to get killed. So I didn't share this. So even when I spoke to the neighbor, I never told her what happened prior. I only said what was happening at that present time, you see? And so when they checked me to the hospital, the doctor said, yes, something did happen. I'm not surprised, right? Because I already know what was the first encounter. Okay. So they get him arrested, but it didn't last. I don't know if he paid the cops because by the next day, he was home. My mom stayed with him. So I had to leave the house. I told my aunt I'm not going back because he too had threatened that he would slit my throat in my sleep. So there was no way that I was going back to that house. Right. And even though this truth came clear to my mom, she stayed. Now, I'm feeling unworthy. Don't tell me not to feel unworthy because I'm your firstborn. I'm the one that's been helping you take care of my brothers and my sisters. You rely on me for everything. I was the one who stayed away from school weeks on end if somebody had a cold. But where's the love? So now here's me. I guess I'm not deserving of love. That's the first thing that's there. I'm not important. So I stayed with my aunt. But guess what? It got worse at my aunt's. So now I can't share it with anybody because nothing was done. Everyone kind of like takes sides. My aunt really wanted me to go back home to my mom, even though the perpetrator was there. So where do I run to? So, of course, I'm cleaning, cooking, whatever needs to be done. So she don't tell me that I have to leave. I make myself useful. And this was for a whole year. And I was subject to her boyfriend now doing the same thing to me. This is worst off. Because to me, it seems like it was every other day. You see? So I told it by expressing, right? But I'm sure as a child, there are signs that adults can see that something is wrong. I already told you what had happened. Okay? So if for my case, no one showed up for me. So all the people who should protect me did not. All right? They did not. So there was no more sharing, talking, none of that. I became withdrawn. Like Kelly, I went to my closet. Everything was inside me, my head. Now I decide I'm going to stay at church because now I don't want to be home. So I spend, if they was having choir practice, I'm at church. They having committee meetings for leaders, I'm at church. As long as that church door was open, I choose to stay away from. I would ask to sleep over when they had fasting or different services just so I could stay away from. Now, wouldn't you question why a child wouldn't want to come home? That would be a sign, right? Why does my child not want to be home? Why does she want to hang out and stay with friends or stay at the church instead of want to come home? To me, those were outward signs. Those were cries for help, but no one came. I'll turn it over to you, ladies.
I think for me, the question is how the lack of outward signs affect the support or lack of support that we received.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, I was really good. I mean, really good at hiding things. When I was struggling with, just the first time I was struggling with depression, my junior year of high school, I literally would come home. I'd sit on the front step, play with my dog, because the dog is the one that always understood and would always listen. And I would literally stand outside the door before I open and go, okay. And I would literally flip the switch. I was that good of not letting them know. Now it ended up that, anytime there's something happening, something's going to come out. And I told a friend at school something, and then she told a teacher who found me after school, and that led to a phone call home. And all the time, I'm like, I can't be found out. I'm the one that has no problems. I'm the go-to gal. I'm the good one. I get the good grades. I do this. I don't have a problem. I'm the responsible one. So my mom came to pick me up after school one day, and that didn't happen. We lived about 8 miles from high school in downtown Dayton, and we take public transportation and everything. And she came to pick me up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. So we go to this park, and Mom says, well, I got this phone call, and they tell me that you're thinking of hurting yourself. And I'm like, wait. We don't talk at home. Our family, we had a dysfunctional family. It was good for a while. Then the alcoholism took over, and then ended up super great. After everybody got sober. But I'm sitting there in this park, and I got to go to work like 4 o'clock or whatever. I'm sitting there telling Mom, and I'm looking out the window because, mind you, my mom and I, we just didn't know how to communicate. And anyway, so I made up a story to Mom, and I said, well, it just seemed like the house is a revolving door and nobody's home. What I didn't realize is that I was really telling her what the problem was. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately at that time, the response was more defensive, and because of you grow up in depression, and you grow up all the things that make your parents your parents. Mm-hmm. My dad was raised in an orphanage for 6 or 8 years. Mom was the youngest of 6 in the Depression. They both grew up in the Depression. So there's a whole different dynamic that where I am now, I could not expect them to be somebody they didn't have capacity to be. But this is some of what I've had to work through. But with this, to answer the question, was that I ended up telling the real problem, not knowing that I was doing that. and it wasn't met with understanding. And that, in some ways, just kind of perpetuated what I was already thinking and feeling. And I just wanted to get out of there. I just wanted to get to work and just, everything's good after this. We had our nice little mother-daughter conversation, that kind of thing.
Right.
But as I went along, by the time I got to college, I ended up, anytime that you're faking it, just like Kelly said earlier, and Ashtyn as well, you are just exhausted.
Right.
And you don't realize it. You don't realize the game that you're playing. Well, it's going to come out in some way. You can run, but you cannot hide.
No.
I was running from myself, and I had to come face to face with myself instead. And when I got to college, my lack of outward signs started becoming louder. My outward signs started becoming the whispers somebody heard. And at first it was, I wanted to play basketball, but I wasn't going to class, and it happened to be my major. It happened to be my advisor. So, it resulted in a phone call to the dean of students, who called me, had a conversation with me. And there was something about that conversation where it's like, Ed feels trustworthy. I can talk to him. And that started changing things. But for a while there, that lack of outward sign just, if anything, just sent me further underground, or at least kept me shut up. But then when I got to college and someone started seeing and hearing the whispers and did something about it, that's when things changed for me.
Wow. Thank you so much, Sue. Ladies?
Sorry, I'm always muted. For me, I think it was, all the signs were there as I'm really trying to focus on, like, just losing weight. My body image and my self-esteem is low. And when your self-esteem is low, you accept anybody. And people start to take advantage of your kindness, and they think that kindness is weakness. And really, it really is in its way.
Right.
And really getting fanatical in my weight loss journey. So if there was a fad, if there was a new diet, if there was a pill, if there was a liquid, if there was a shot, it didn't matter. If there was something you put under your tongue, I spent thousands of dollars on these things, but not doing any of them, not being consistent in what I'm doing, and chasing what I thought was validation. All the time I'm thinking, if I can just shrink my body, then you'll accept me, right? If I can shrink, I'll be loved. If I can shrink, I'll be worthy, because everything society tells me is, in order for you to be worthy and for you to be loved and for you to be seen, you must be a certain way. And I'm not it. I'm not that way. I am heavy. When you are somebody who struggles with body weight, and if you are a heavy person, not only are you just struggling with the health issues that you're really ignoring, because I'm ignoring all the health things, but you're struggling internally, because people who are heavy always are told that they're happy and jolly, and you're not.
Correct.
And so when you are fanatical in your weight loss journey, you're trying everything. I will tell you, ladies, at the age of 40, I am getting in a boxing ring with women who are half of my age, competing Muay Thai, trying to prove something, right? Not knowing that I'll never get where they are. I'll never be them, but I'm emulating them. I'm so wrapped up in what I think other people want me to be, I don't even know who I am. So I'm chasing. And those outward signs, I'm the silent cry for help is trying every single fad out there.
That's what I was gonna say.
And
that
not
was your
being
sign.
consistent. That was my sign. Chasing. It didn't matter what it was. If it came on, and this is the time of infomercials, right? So if it was a good infomercial, oh my God, and they promised all their promises, knowing deep down inside that they're probably not true, but wanting to believe them.
You want to believe
if I just take this pill, it will solve everything. And really, honestly, thinking that my solution is in a bottle, in a box, in a drink. that was never my solution, but that was my cry. Those were my outward signs, because I didn't know what else to do. And I'm not me. I'm not being authentic to Kelly. So I don't even know who I am. And the people that I'm calling my friends, I'm going to find out later aren't, because when I start saying no and stop saying yes, people tend to fall away. And that's a whole nother story in the journey. But for me, it was the fanatical. It was that fanatical globbing onto everything, and that means unhealthy relationships too. So making very poor choices with romantic relationships, because if you looked at me twice, I was in there, and I took everything, the abuse, the narcissism, because I just didn't want to be by myself, because if I was going to be by myself, I was going to have to face a lot of truths. And as long as I'm not by myself, I don't have to face any truth. So I'm going to be with whoever, and I'm going to take whatever they give me.
Right.
And I'm going to think that's worthy. I'm not even worthy for the relationships, but I'm going to take them anyway because you're giving them to me. So you're throwing me crumbs and I'm taking them.
Right.
And those were my signs.
Wow. Throwing you crumbs and you were taking it when a table is actually set with a 7-course meal. But because we don't have that value or that self-worth to feel like you're deserving, I can love the skin I'm in. Huh? So now you're taking crumbs, and anyone that comes along, even if they don't love me, but at least they're here. They're with me, and you repeat this over and over and over and over. You understand? So that's what I wanted to say, because when you kept saying you were going through all these different diets and all of that, and Harris also go mentally, you say, okay, I just need to buy that. Take it one or twice, but inside you really haven't healed, because it's all internal, until we can heal within the external. We could do all you want, whether you're heavy, whether you're thin, it wouldn't matter, because the problem isn't the outside, right? It's working on you, working on your spirit man, working on all those places that were broken, the things that were done to you, to confront them and stop ignoring them. The disassociation, right? I'll leave it. You could go 5 years and then you're triggered by something. I don't know about any of you, even watching something on TV. I find myself crying back then, and it wasn't nothing sobby. But all of a sudden, it's like I'm seeing me in that somehow. You understand? So let's go to Ashtyn.
I may not answer the question. I'm just going to go with what is arriving.
That's
so I hope
it.
there's space for that. Okay. So I have this memory when I was younger, like really young, probably maybe 4 or 5 years old. And I could feel this thing inside of me, which is like this pure core, this kind of heartedness that just cares. Like care doesn't stop from this place inside of me. And I couldn't feel it outside of me. And I think that this is also like, it relates to the things that we're sharing here of like, there's pain that each of us was experiencing and traumatic experiences that we were moving through. And there really should be the ability to feel into another, in particular your child, you would hope, to actually sense that something is off or something is wrong. And kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, there tends to be a tendency to lean out rather than a tendency to lean in. And I think even in sharing all of our stories today, we're asking people to lean in, because that's the space of actual healing. That's the space of actual transformation. So then moving into my adolescent years, as I mentioned, my dad was an alcoholic. His behaviors were very unpredictable. He also had a lot of violent tendencies. So there was a level of physical abuse that was happening inside of the household. My mom, I would speak up very clearly in the face of injustice. I've always been that way, to include relative to my father. But when I would share these things with my mom, she had to justify her being with him. And so that meant making excuses for him, and then making it me to actually be to blame for this man's behavior. And so where, again, I'm going to be like, hey, you could help. You would be the one to help. I'm not receiving that back. So then we go more into the stages of adolescence, and the dysfunction in my household is so extreme, and I'm also highly sensitive, that at this point I'm wondering, like, why am I here on earth? Like, what is the reason? And why do I feel like such an alien? Like, why are people not feeling like I'm feeling? And this also turned into suicidal ideation, like that was just ongoing. And truly, if it wasn't just by grace of the divine surrounding me, I do not know how I would have navigated this entirely on my own, especially as a young person. And I remember I would run a lot, I would walk a lot, because, as has been shared here, leaving home tended to be maybe a safer, better option. And so I would go on these walks, or I would run, and I would be crying, and I would sit in parks all the way to like late hours at night, so I could get home hopefully after my dad's rage, and I could kind of just slide into the house safely. And I remember thinking, like, I wish anyone would stop. I wish anyone would ask how I'm doing. I wish anyone would show care at all whatsoever. And again, there were other experiences outside of the ones that I described, going to other family members, friends. There were even my friends' parents who would say, you can't hang out with her, because instead of caring about my situation, they demonized and villainized me, even though I'm just a pure-hearted human and a child right now, and actually a great person for your child to be friends with. So all of this, of course, leads also to these thematic experiences that I hear us all sharing, which is now we have to suppress. We're being conditioned and taught that we have to push it inside of our bodies instead of allowing it to come out of our bodies, which is a far more healing experience that then later on in life, I recognize each and every one of us here has navigated through in the ways that we have uniquely navigated them through. And so one part of this is like a lack of attunement and empathy that we need as human beings in order to have a healthier familial system, community system, societal system, and world, to lean in instead of leaning out. Another part of this is that attunement also leads to a certain level of protection and safety and justice that we are currently lacking within this world, which perpetuates trauma rather than allowing trauma a space to fully and completely be healed, such as what has been shared here. To have even one person that feels safe can be so tremendously impactful inside of your life experience and your healing trajectory. And then when we rise into the space of, okay, now instead of being suppressed, I'm actually becoming expressed. And instead of like pushing all of the things down, we're actually being with ourselves in the lack of attunement that we've received before, which is healing. It creates space for who we truly are to be inside of our bodies. And now we have that with a space of expression where we move into the world knowing our worth, showing up with our value, being so much more powerful in how we arrive into life. And I think all of us are expressions of that trajectory and that journey.
Indeed, indeed. So we're gonna take a break because I know the ladies have said a lot, and we'll come back and continue. So I know you didn't want to come away from your screen, but I'm gonna give you that break. So if you need to go with that phone, go with the phone. If you're watching it on TV, on the YouTube channel, just hit pause. Just hit pause as we go to this break, and we'll be right back.
Remember when coffee was just coffee? A routine sip, part of the 2 billion cups consumed daily, enough to fill an Olympic swimming pool every 3 minutes. Same old flavor, same old routine. For centuries, 75% of coffee drinkers have settled for mediocrity, masking the taste with sugar, syrups, and overpriced add-ons. But what if coffee didn't just promise to be amazing? What if it actually was? Introducing Alive Coffee, the first coffee that tastes as good as it makes you feel. Meet the coffee that thinks beyond the cup. Bold, smooth, alive. Made from expertly roasted top-quality beans, Alive Coffee is smooth, rich, and shockingly delicious. Stop drinking May, start drinking Alive. The coffee that delivers just like the 90% who won't start their day without it. Alive Coffee. Wake up, take over. Feel alive.
Feel alive as we're talking about those moments when we sure didn't want to live. This coffee is saying, drink me and you'll feel alive. I think that would be one of the things. Well, maybe I'll try that. Oh my goodness. There is a lot that was said. And the truth here, and this is always what I want people to take away whenever they listen to this podcast, is to know that it's time to heal for real, right? The last thing that Ashtyn talked about is having an environment that allow you to want to talk about it instead of internalizing everything, but actually releasing it, right? To this day, even culturally, because I'm Haitian Bahamian. So I was born in Bahamas, but my ancestral background is Haiti. People don't talk, even now people don't want to talk about these things. These suppress your silence out of fear, right? Because they feel like the person will come back and they'll do more harm. So you are to accept things, move on, don't talk about it because that person might from be more powerful family. There's a lot that is involved why individuals don't share, culturally speaking, the environment. I bring this to my home so my children can express themselves when they're going through something. Let's talk about it. I ask these questions. What is happening? I have two granddaughters. I ask the question, how are you? Did anyone make you feel uncomfortable? Why am I doing that? No one ever asked me, in truth. And even when it was told, nothing was done about it. So I bring in the atmosphere for love. I'm loving on you. I'm with you no matter what is going on. No matter how maybe you've done something and you feel like it might disappoint me, as your mother. But I want you to know at the end of the day, I'm on your side. I'm here for you, right? And I am not one of those parents, maybe because of what I went through, and each and every one of you, if a child comes to me about that, I'm not going to say they're lying because it happened to me, right? If you're talking to someone, you're going to say, you know what? I understand, right? And you'll be that person for that individual who say, finally, like Sue said, finally, someone sees me, someone hears me, right? So these are what I want to motivate you who are watching here today. All right? We hear you, we see you, and you can connect with us virtually. If Kelly is relatable, connect. The link is in the bio. If Ashtyn is relatable, connect. If Sue is relatable, connect, because it's time to heal for real. So now we're going to go into our next question here, and it brings us right back into this. In what ways did you learn to give language to your silence? Some of us already said the language we give. Kelly talked about her language was what? Getting, trying to get whatever fad was out there when it came to the diet pills, the diet, what do you call them? I don't even
Whatever, it
know.
didn't matter. Didn't matter. It could be a pill, a liquid, a shot, a drink. It didn't matter. A powder. It didn't matter.
Right,
If it promised something, I was going to try it.
right.
But
And that
I
was,
also knew that I wasn't
mhm.
going to. I wasn't gonna see it through. But I knew this going into it.
See, that's what I wanted to say, because many times we say, okay, I'll try that knowingly. First we do it because, okay, that's something I can go towards, right? And then you say, well, maybe I'll try it once. We didn't see it through, but it was something at the time that made me feel better about myself, right? I have it. So I see it a lot even today when people are leaving reviews and somebody said, no, it didn't work. That person probably only tried it once, whereas the other person probably saw the results in 3 months. Because you see someone says, well, it didn't work at first, but 2 months later, here's where I am in my journey. I like to read out to say who actually tried it or how long did it work. Well, healing is the same way. We can't just say, hey, Sue, I want to talk to you. Maybe she was busy, she couldn't connect. I don't know if you played those games. If I talk to them and they come to talk to me, then I'll talk. But if they say later, I won't talk. Anybody? Anybody was ever there? Like, I'll try it, I tried, but oh, they're busy. Never mind. And you leave it for another day, another month, right? Because, or something happened and you got distracted and you say, well, I'll worry about that another time. That's why I always say to people in discernment, when someone says they need to talk to you, pay attention. Come with an open mind. Hey, Sue, you said you wanted to talk to me. I didn't have the time at the time, but right now you've got my undivided attention. No, 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 never mind. Because we chicken out.
Yeah.
We
For
chicken
me,
out.
I think it's too, you don't want to be a burden. You don't want
Right.
to burden anybody with your problems when you're the fix-it person. Fix-it
Exactly.
person doesn't have problems. You
Because I
fix
hear each and
problems.
every one of us here is the fix it person. We want to make it work for everybody else, but it's falling apart in our own lives.
Yeah.
I'm a
100%.
giver. So when I gave, that was my joy, right? That made me feel good about myself to give, to do. Okay. So that's the language of these silent battles. Anybody else have any other language in your silent battle that wasn't shared yet?
I think for me, one of the languages, and I didn't know I was speaking it, one way that I was saying, I'm hurting, I need help, was feeling that connection to Ed, feeling like he cared and making an appointment and then keeping that appointment there. I don't know, there was something that made his office safe. And when we met, we were meeting for a couple hours. This is the dean of students at a small college, about 800 to 1,000 people, Northwest Ohio. And he became my counselor and confidant. And for me, I think that language, I started to feel a little bit of freedom my senior year of college. We had a senior retreat in my high school. Senior high school, and talking to Father Denny, and that helped some. But it really wasn't until I was out of the house and on my own, because then I didn't have to worry about being found out. Because that was one of the big things. I don't want to be found out. But yet there was something about Ed that made it safe. And yet I left every year. I was paying my own way through college. I didn't know if I was going to be back. And his time and investment in me meant so much that I made sure I stopped by every year to say goodbye, not knowing if I'd be back. And then when I got back the next year, I'd be the first person I'm looking up. But I think for me, some of that language was simply taking a little bit of initiative because he had proven himself faithful. Had he not reached out to me, had that professor not called him and he called me in to say what's going on, that was probably one of the first times that I felt like somebody cared, because they're like, something's going on. Why aren't you going to class? What's going on? What's the issue? And that gave me permission to start entertaining the thought. I still didn't know how to put words to what was really going on, but just showing up and making an appointment with him every week just to talk about whatever was on my mind ended up giving me a jump start to starting to find some words.
Yep. That takes us through the silence. Anybody else?
Yeah. So I naturally became very curious, even like deeply enamored, almost obsessive about studying relationships. Because part of it was like, okay, I'm seeing things, I'm feeling things. I can tell that I am living amongst a dysfunctional household. And how can we resolve this? When I'm speaking things I'm not being received, can I get better at that? Could I become more knowledgeable within this kind of terrain? Could that help?
Mm-hmm.
So the pain that I was experiencing and not being received ended up kind of moving me into areas of study relative to dysfunctional family dynamics and patterns, relationships, internal healing, external healing,
Mm-hmm.
communication. I inevitably got my degree, my undergrad degree in psychology. I then got another nearly completed master's degree in marriage and family therapy. I left to do what I do now because it was a soul call that I could not
Right.
listen to. But essentially, I'm saying that the places that I ended up putting my energy were like my language for what I had been experiencing, and how could I possibly alchemize this, heal this. Now, though that started with psychology because this was more normalized or known relative to healing.
Right.
And I did, by the way, ask my mom, like, hey, can I go see a counselor when I was like
Mm-hmm.
14, 15 years old? That's another like, hello, something's going on
Right.
here.
Right.
But so though psychology was my base, I ended up in my kind of mid-ish 20s having what I consider my first wave of awakening. And it was through leaving a narcissistically abusive relationship
I
that
don't
had
know why we tend to go to those. I don't know. I don't know.
straight from childhood, straight into the next thing, right? And he was one of my brother's best friends. He was my first kiss in 6th grade. We grew up together. We started officially dating when I was 17 and were engaged, had a venue, and I called off the engagement at 27. So this really was, again, another way in which early on childhood trauma was showing up as it can in a romantic relationship, and it was just moving straight into a same or similar terrain that had not yet been healed, because of course when we don't heal it, we loop back into it the
That's
less
it.
pain.
That's it.
So there was the leaving of this relationship that I didn't experience the heartbreak. It was more like, I feel like I'm escaping prison now. And so with that, though I was going through deep layers of healing, like rectifying my reality, I had been through, at this point, 27 years of being gaslit. I'm like, who really am I? What
Right.
is life? I am so feeling confused and lost, even though I have this solid center inside of myself that knows what is true and knows who I really am. And so leaving that relationship, I came into this like blissful experience of joy. And really, it was my intuition that pushed me into leaving that relationship. I can't go into all of the different segments of that, but just a short format, it was my intuition that really liberated me and propelled me into a different space. So when I chose that, life opened up, doors opened up, the divine opened up. Suddenly I'm feeling things, I'm sensing things that I hadn't before. I mean, literal color. I was seeing in color as I never had before.
Oh my God. I've said this before. I've said this before, and I say it all the time, probably almost every segment. When you're healed, you actually see color.
Mhm.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Okay, you see color. And if you look back even at your wardrobe, you really tried to stay away from all these bright stuff and a lot of things, but color come alive. It's like, anybody ever wear, there's certain sunglasses that you wear that enhances the color, it makes it even brighter. Well, that's what happened with healing, is because you hear, literally hear better,
Mhm.
feel better. All of your senses become the best, like the highest, because you've healed. Sorry to interject, but I just have to
Oh, I
stress
love that.
that, like
Please,
color.
please.
Okay. Yes.
It's very real. It's very true. So in this like first wave of awakening, as I said, I was opening up to places that had essentially been living dormant inside of me. Like even when we started this conversation, I was like, I was highly intuitive, and honestly, I was quite advanced coming in, and I was in a child's body. So people look at you like you're a child, but you're like a wise soul all
Right.
at the same time. And so there were these intuitive experiences that had kind of been pushed back down and suppressed, which institutionalized education often does to us. But then there are all these other factors involved. So suddenly I was meeting my intuitive self. I was like meeting the deeper truth inside of me in ways that had never been reflected to me. And suddenly life itself was reflecting it back to me. Inevitably, a couple years later, I had what I called my second wave of awakening, and now it's just like every day is a thing.
Mhm.
But in that, I met someone that I consider to be like a cosmic connection. We had a lot of prior lifetimes together. It opened up so many spaces inside of me and so many spaces in him. Why I'm saying this is because we're talking about language. And though psychology was something that supported me in kind of expressing some of the things that I have been navigating through and identifying my own experiences, it still didn't provide the language that I needed as a highly intuitive human. So it wasn't until I came through these awakenings and I just became a channel, which I always was, but didn't know it. I
Mhm.
became a channel, and suddenly the language just came through me. I wasn't reading it in a book. I wasn't studying it from another person. I am known for developing language that other intuitives are like, I know that exact experience. I have just never been able to give it word. And so there's something deeply healing about that when someone has gone through these processes and suddenly has the ability to give word to phenomenon that some people wouldn't even say exists, and yet
Mhm.
you're experiencing it, and it's like, oh, so that very thing that I needed as a child, I find that I do it ongoingly for the people that enter into my world. That's my experience with language.
All right. Language is universal, and it's spiritually speaking, it's universal. And once you go through the healing and allow, for me, I don't say divine or anything like that. For me, it's God. And so I would say once you allow for that experience to happen, you're a whole different person. You loving, caring, even though you were already that before, but you become the best version of yourself,
Mm.
right? And it's a beautiful place to be. Beautiful place to be. Kelly, I'm gonna go to you because you've been the one, the lack of lack of words for the the
And it's
last
funny.
segment here.
I was listening to everybody talk about language, and my language was written. My language was words, and that's how I actually healed myself, was through writing. I can remember being in high school and going through whatever I was going through. I wrote a lot of bad poetry, right? A lot of woe is me, but that helped me be able to get to where I thought I needed to be. So as
Hmm.
I am healing, as I'm going through whatever process. I don't know if it was an awakening, a healing, but I did have a sit down with myself, and I really started listening to myself. But through that, I just started writing what I was hearing, and so as I'm writing the things that are happening to me, and I'm reading them, I'm able to. I'm not saying them out loud, right? But I can
Right,
see them on the page, and I know that they are real. And from those, what I what I wrote became a book, but that was not the intention, right? It wasn't an intention for it to be a book. I'm just writing my what's going on, and trying to figure out what I need to do, listening to the voice in my head. Honestly, listening to me for the first time. A voice I had made quiet and kind of pushed down. I was finally listening to that voice in the back of my head, and the voice said, "You know what? You need to just start writing what the hell is going on in your life and just write it down. And if you write it down, maybe you can accept it." So as I'm writing what's going on. I'm reading it back. Next thing I know, I have this whole book. And it's funny because in the book, my main character, who's me, doesn't have a name because I didn't know it was me at the time, right? I didn't realize. But as I'm reading the words back, I'm thinking, man, this woman in the story has a lot of issues, and she really struggles with body, and and man, so I've almost removed myself from the story, and so I can actually look at it from the outside in and realize that, wow, you can actually start to make changes if you start listening to that little tiny voice in your head. And I didn't have anybody to tell me that the voice was right or wrong. I honestly thought I was kind of losing my mind because the voice is getting louder, and I'm starting to really have conversations with the voice in my head. And the voice in my head is not the negative chatter that I would hear before. But now the voice is like, you know what, Kelly, you need to start meditating. You need to start sitting with yourself. And COVID is what forced me to do that. Right?
COVID forced a lot of people.
Forced me to sit with myself and really figure out who I was. And from there, writing things down, making the story, and realizing that it's okay to cry in the closet. It's okay to share the story. And I learned too that in my language, there is power in my story.
Yes.
I'm actually a lot more powerful than I ever gave myself credit for.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so when I'm telling my story and people are like, oh my God, I felt like that. I'm like, really? And that, to me, my helping you helps me. And that is my language is words. And that's, I feel like we heal through words. Sometimes we don't even know it, but we heal through words.
That's true.
Words on the page.
That's true. Just like words positively causes healing, and words too also causes trauma. It takes me to an expression we used to say when we're kids: sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can't hurt me. Words hurt.
Yeah, they do.
But as a child, you said that when people like put a thick skin on, like, I don't care what you say, your words can't hurt me. Basically, you said, I'm not letting that cross over. We didn't even realize what we were saying when we were saying, but we really were saying, you know what? I don't care what you're saying. I am not going to receive that. That's what that meant. You understand? But words are indeed very powerful. And once you learn to share your story, as we get into this other question here that talks about how do we help others feel seen even when they hide in their pain, right? So seen while they hide in their pain is true word, is true expression, is true sharing. You understand? We are calling on someone right now through telling our story and verbally taking them, through our journey. Okay. This is helping them. All right. So each of you, because you're now in a part of your life where you've emerged, and I have yet to see someone who have turned their pain into purpose or test into a testimony that does not pour back to help. Because we know what it's like to be in that place with no help. So why would you want, okay, I'm healed now, let me leave that alone? No, because now you become so empowered. You become enamored, right? You're ready to let's do this. All right. I want you to not only feel seen, but I want you to help heal in the pain that you have. So let's take it there. Any one of you can chime in.
I'll jump in. I think for me, how this all plays out now, similar to what you just said, is that actually what a lot of people have said is words, is what we do now. I didn't really enter my healing journey until 2014. I did not deal with the rape until 2014, over 4 decades after it happened. I had an eating disorder. I called it odd eating behaviors. I called it anorexic tendencies. I did not call it an eating disorder. I entered recovery from my eating disorder in 2016. What happened in between there is when I started dealing with the rape, There was a movie that came out, so words and words on the screen as well. There was a movie that came out called Ragamuffin, and it's based on the life of the late Christian musician Rich Mullins. I'm a Christ follower as well. And that movie was a hard watch for me. In first year, I'm finally dealing with it with my counselor. I've been with her for 6 years. And we say now we had to get me stronger in the present before we could go back to the past.
Mm-hmm.
And as we were dealing with it, because eating disorders and emotions are enemies, I had to figure out what I was feeling and how to deal with it while dealing with all the emotions and bad thoughts and wrong thoughts, the wrong story I was telling myself about the rape, about who was responsible for the rape, just all kinds of things. I was working hard on getting the story straight. So 2015, I wrote my first book, and I started my first book, and it tells my story, and it tells the healing journey God took me on, and how one of the ways that I am able to help others feel seen, even when they're hiding their pain, is with this book. When the book finally came out in 2019, won second place nonfiction at the Faith and Fellowship Book Festival in 2020. And what I love, thank you. One of the things I love is reading the reviews. And one person actually here locally wrote the review on Amazon, said, I didn't know if I want to hug you, hit you, or throw the book out the window. And to me, that is like a huge compliment. She said, because that gave me words that spoke to my story. It helped me feel heard. And then that gave her the courage for her healing journey, where she has gone through a lot now. So with the power of sharing our stories, it gets, in the bio, in the intro, I talked about my step ahead. You only have to be a step ahead to help the person behind you. Mm-hmm. That's the company motto. That's the focus. But that came from the truth of that. And the impetus behind that is a story for a different day. I don't want to take up all the time. But it was what somebody told me when I was reaching out for help, needing to be seen and heard. I had a friend who had been suicidal a few years prior. We were on a trip together, and I said, I need to learn from something you've gone through. How do you go on living when all you want to do is die? And he helped me feel seen and heard by spending 90 minutes with me. And his last words were, that's all I know to tell you, Sue, step by step. And that became part of my journey.
That became your mission.
Yes, it is my mission now, because I know what it was like. I will never know exactly what someone else is feeling or experiencing. And I work hard not to say I know exactly how you feel. I can relate to that. I can understand it. But it is your story, and I will never fully know what you have experienced or what you are feeling. But when someone opens the door that much and allows me entrance in through coaching, through my books, through speaking, through whatever means it takes, that is an opportunity to help them feel seen. Not to share my story with them when they're sharing theirs, but to draw internally from my story and remember what I went through so that I can be for someone else what someone else was for me. Mm-hmm. That is how I'm able to help someone feel seen. I am a Christ follower, so many of my clients are Christ followers as well. When in the intros, I talked about I'm on a mission. I'm passionate about that intersection of faith and mental health, because unfortunately, there are many in the Christian field that don't believe mental health has a place, or is
say that again.
Mm-hmm. And that is a lie straight from the pit. So I am on a mission to break that stigma. And so when I can share my story, because now I'm at a place where I've found my healing and I have found my mission as a result of that. My mission is to be for someone else what someone else was for me, because I understand and I know what can be on the other side. And I'm willing to walk through the muck with somebody else to help them get there.
Love it, love it, love it. We're going to go now to Kelly.
So, for me, I also published my book, and it's really all about the messy middle, the fanatical part of weight loss, the part that nobody talks about. I always would see the before and the after, but nobody ever shows you the middle. And so you
Right.
don't even know. And then with the onset of social media and these images that you see of what you're supposed to look like, it can be very, very, very frustrating, and it can be very distressing when you don't look like any of those people, and you never will.
Right.
So in my healing, I decided that I was I didn't write a book, but it turned out to be a book. And I thought, I'm going to step out on faith and I'm just going to publish it. And maybe it will help somebody. And that was the goal. The goal was never to get rich. It was never to, whatever. It was really to put out the story and be vulnerable and put it out there, and hopefully that the words would help somebody know that they're not alone.
Yes.
That messy middle, that fanatical, that part of healing or losing weight or finding yourself, that is real, and you don't have to go it alone.
Right.
So my platform, my brand is all about helping underrepresented voices get their words out there, right? Because 6 out of 10 adults want to write a book, just don't know how.
Right.
Everybody has a story, and there's power in everybody's story. I truly believe that. I believe that to my core, that we can all learn from one another, that nobody is perfect. We're all flawed, right? But we all have a story. And that whatever you're going through, somebody is either going through it, has gone through it, and
Right.
needs to hear those words. And if I can help somebody get those words out there, if we can pay everything that we've learned, if we can pay it forward and help somebody else, well, then my platform, it's all worthwhile to me. Because my thing is, I want to help myself, but I am really, really adamant about helping others. I don't want anybody to have to struggle if you don't have to. And more importantly, probably more importantly than anything ever, I want people to know that they're not alone. You are so not alone, because there is power in all of us joining together. So platforms like this, I love the message. I'm for it. And that's what I do. So words heal, Sue. I'm with you on that. I'm intuitive like you, Ashtyn, and I just think that together somebody is going to hear one of our stories. It's
Yes.
going to resonate with somebody, and somebody is going to start their journey to becoming who they want to be, right? And that is why I sit here today. That is truly why I am here. I want to sell a book or two, but ultimately, I want to help people. I
Yes.
definitely want to help. That I feel like I am at my best when I am helping.
Yes, indeed. So I really thank each and every one of you ladies. Now we've heard Sue, she talk about faith and community, solitude, that helps and play in our healing process. I talk about what faith did for my healing process. Ashton talk about, what she connected with for her healing process. So each of us know that deep down inside, you have to want to be healed, first of all, right? And this is a choice, you know, a choice to say, I want to live, you know, I want better, and I want to help others, heal as well. Like you, Kelly, my book, our first book actually, was just meant to be a memoir for my kids, was never for the world. But little bits of my story I would give whenever I speak to young women, or whenever I go out and I speak, and people will come back and said, I've never heard anybody talk about this. And I went through that too. And it opened up doors. So finally, by the time as I say, okay, I'm going to get this book out, this book speaks for itself. And it's not about the dollars, because still I'm at book 9 since 2020. It's not the money. It's putting it out there for people to find. Here's what's out there. Once you pick this up, I pray that it change your life, or your
Mm-hmm.
sister, or someone. You know, I haven't made the monies I made from the first book that I put in, because I put a lot of work in it. It's in English and also in Spanish, right? That
Wow.
project was a big project in itself. But here's what it is at the end of the day. Somebody picked it up and they healed and they shared it with someone else. And that's it. The money, Lord, you know when you're gonna send that money, and we all waiting. we're not We're not gonna be selfish about that. We all want it because we put the work in. Once you put in the work, there's value. That's what that means, right? There's value. And I don't know if any of you ladies, but there are parts of my life that I felt it was never for me. Because now when I do ministry in it, I realize that's how I can be sympathetic, understanding. You understand? I can relate, you know. I don't say I know what you feel, but I said I've been there.
Mm.
You understand? Because we all get on this highway called life and we all get off at an exit. We all, when we get a plane ticket, have a destination to go. But when we get to that destination, we all park. We go to a different address. Right? That's the life experience in itself. So each of these ladies have their books. We'll have all that information in the bio. But give the name of your books or any last words that you would like to leave for our audience, because we don't want to keep them here. We want them to come back next week.
I'll just tell you, my book is called Wait for It, and it's the play on words. It's WEIGHT. It is available on my platform, brightheadedpublishing.com. I'm right in the, and it's so funny, I'm in the middle of building my business, building the infrastructure so that I am in a better position to help others. Because one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to take from anybody without giving value back. It's very important to me, very important to me. And so, but if the book helps, and it's funny, the only reason why I published it is I read it to a friend and she's like, oh my God, you're in my head. This is exactly what I went through. Somebody
so spell
else
that
needs
for
to
me.
hear this. WEIGHT, like your weight on a scale. Wait for it. It's also an audiobook as well.
All right. I'll put it here.
WEGH, like wait, WEIGHT.
All right, let me correct that. Type in and not looking. WEIGHT.
Yep. And it's just all about the messy middle, the fanatical, the part that nobody shows you. Definitely
All right,
not a
everyone.
glow up. Definitely
That's
not a
it
glow
there.
up.
Wait for it. All right. Anyone else?
Yeah, so my business is called True Self Embodied. My website is trueselfembodied.com. I work with individuals one-on-one. I also have a community membership group. This would be for the highly sensitive human who is deeply enamored with healing and transforming and is really about it. And then I also have an incredible newsletter. So if you go to my website, trueselfembodied.com, and you sign up for the newsletter, truly, this is a course for higher consciousness that I'm ongoingly putting out written transmissions and also video transmissions for. So lots and lots and lots of value. And I do not have a book, but I would say if I did have
It's
a book,
coming. It's coming.
So people have been like, girl, when you bring that book out? I know.
It's gonna be several, because you have to break down each area. Because as you were speaking about language, right? You have to break down the language, right? And so as you go into it, I don't know what you're gonna call it yet, but first you're gonna put the title's gonna come after you finish right. All right, your title's gonna come after you finish right, because as you're doing the research, you've already done the work, right? So through that language, just in there, right there, I want you to believe that that's a message in itself for discovery, because we need to understand first of all the language, how to express, how to speak, what does it mean, okay? And finding oneself, all right? And language is key, because we always talk about even in relationships, we need to be able to communicate. What is your love language? You understand? Language is a big deal. It's not I speak Creole, you speak French, but it's a whole different language, all right? So that's work that you have. But there's more than one. All right. There's more than
Oh,
one.
baby,
And you have
I'm
enough
like a
work.
trilogy plus.
Say that again.
I'm like a trilogy plus.
Yes. I
Yeah.
see beyond 3. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Beyond 3. So it's selfembodied.com. All right.
TruthEmbodied.com.
TrueSelfEmbodied.com. Who knows? That might be the name of the book. You never know. That could be one of them for sure. All right. TrueSelfEmbodied.com. And Sue, what was the name of yours?
Yeah, you can find it at my website, SueBowles.com. There's actually 3 books there. The first book I was talking about is called This Much I Know, The Space Between. And it shares my story. But the second half of the book talks about the healing journey God took me on. And there were 3 very important points and steps through a faith retreat community that God used and continues to use to bring healing to me. Excuse me. But at my website, SueBowles.com, you can find the books. There's 3 of them there, as I said. But then there's also, I have a weekly text I send out because sometimes you're not ready to take that big step just yet. But you wouldn't mind having a little encouragement. I have a weekly text I send out called Hump Day Help. Go to the website. You can sign up for that. It's just something I send to your phone, usually between 7 and 8 Wednesday mornings, just to help you get through the day. And if there's more that I can do for you, certainly reach out to me. I'd love to hear your story. I'd love to walk with you on the next leg of your journey.
All right. These are very genius. I love this. Wait for it, man. That'll help me. I'll see that. I'm like, oh, I wonder what this is about. Definitely. And even with the true self embodiment, listen, we can get really creative with these. So, ladies, I truly thank each and every one of you for being here on the set of Emerge and Empower as we do this virtual conference. And I believe there will be tremendous feedback. Your inbox is going to be filled with people trying to connect with you for your story because they find you relatable. All right. It's about being relatable so you can find someone that you can connect with on today. That is why these segments come on just to help you find what you need. All right. You can Google it. You can find it. It will be in somebody's timeline. It will be a clip probably on TikTok or Instagram. All right. Where you see this, wherever. All right. You can connect because there are people that are relatable. All right. On here. Wait for it. True Embodiment and SueBowles.com. So, ladies, I truly want to thank each and every one of you for your presence here on this podcast on today. And so, everyone, we thank you. We'll be back next week with more. And Sue, like I said, was on the podcast already, and we will be waiting to listen to Kelly and Ashtyn. Believe me, there's a lot more to give. And so that's the end for today because we want you to come back and watch it next week. So bye bye. All right. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in to the Shemergence virtual conference on today. And truly thank you. I know that you have been watching, and this is the 3rd session of the virtual conference that we're doing here. And what I want you to know that this segment, the conversation, reminds us of some of the deep wounds, that we fight alone, those silent moments that you are alone. All right. And it's to encourage you to come forth. Don't stay there alone. All right. I know you're fighting a silent battle, but what I want you to realize, unfortunately, it's very common. Someone you know is fighting the same battle. So don't be ashamed of it either. Do not be ashamed of it. It was not your fault. It was the perpetrator's fault. And if it's a choice or decision that you made in life, we change that. Change that trajectory. All right. It's time for those change. Okay. So if today's dialogue spoke to you, know this, you are indeed not alone. Silence has weight. And you saw what Kelly talked about. She has a book called Wait for It because of that was her language. All right. I don't know what yours is, but let's continue this journey together. Connect with the ladies in the links in the bio. God bless you. Until next time.